What's going on, Hokie Nation? It's a beautiful Friday, October 28th in Blacksburg, Virginia. We're at the Corporate Research Center. I'm Giovanni Heater, joined alongside Nick Brown, and this is TSL Today. We're going to get things going right now. Thanks so much for being with us today. We got a lot to talk about. We got a little bit of basketball news, some soccer news, but obviously, Nick, the big thing to talk about here is Virginia Tech football. A tough 22-21 loss on the road in Raleigh against NC State last night, who's ranked 24th in the country. We'll dive into that. Let's start with some good news, though. Justyn Mutts has been named to the Karl Malone watch list for the top power forward in the nation. Your thoughts on Mutts? Everyone thought he probably wasn't going to come back for this year after the ACC championship. Decides to run it back, and that's big news for the Hokies.
Yeah, he's got to kind of step up his game a little bit. Obviously, I love Justyn Mutts. I think he's a fantastic basketball player. Do I think he's a top 3 power forward in the country? I don't know. I wouldn't say. And there's a lot of really good power forwards out there in the country, especially like Drew Timme over at Gonzaga. But it's still good to see him get the recognition. And I do think there are aspects in his game that if he improves on, I do think he could get that truly national recognition at the end of the season. But he will have to improve on last season, which was a fantastic year. Got to cut down those turnovers, most notably. And I know when he sat here in the Textile Line podcast, I talked about how the NBA scouts and the coaches that really talked to him when we went to all those camps said he had to shoot more threes. He shot a decent around 30% three-point shooting. That's pretty good for his size too. That's really good. But the NBA, you're going to shoot a lot more threes than you do in college. So they just wanted a bigger sample size of his three-point shooting. So if he improves on his three-point shooting percentage by shooting more threes, then that's really good. So I do think there is a pathway for him to get to that national recognition. But right now, there's just so many good basketball players in the country. But he is obviously still going to be very good.
The one thing about Justyn Mutts that is undeniable is he's kind of the heart and soul of that Virginia Tech basketball team. He's the captain. He's the leader. He's incredibly intelligent, all ACC academically. Going on, his third degree at this point? Third degree at this
second
point.
Master's.
Yes.
And he's old. He's 24, 25, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, but he is just kind of the spirit and the energy of that team all across the board. I think his passion was a big driving force in them kind of making that comeback after dropping 0-4 in ACC play, and then boom, all of a sudden stringing together 6 wins and making that push to have a really special end of the season. Yeah,
so I think that also goes in with the recognition in the preseason is that he is the face of Virginia Tech basketball. Like, yes, Hunter Couture's top is really good too, but when you think of this team, it's obviously your first thought's going to go to Justyn Mutts. So I think that helped in him getting this award along with his style of play as well.
No doubt about it. And something to touch on here, Hokies women's soccer lost at number 5 Florida State yesterday. Final score of that one was 4-1. Florida State took it home. So Virginia Tech, already after losing to Notre Dame, they did beat Syracuse after that, but regardless, they dropped out of the top 6. They will not be participating in the ACC tournament. Kind of a disappointing end for the Virginia Tech women's soccer team. We'll see what happens with the NCAA tournament conversation, but kind of a tough end here for Virginia Tech soccer.
Yeah, they do have an argument to get in the tournament, I believe. They lost to number 2 South Carolina at the time, 2-1. They had a 1-0 lead on South Carolina at home. And then they lost to number 4 Notre Dame, like 1-0. Barely. And they had plenty of opportunities. And the foul counts it was horrible. I think it was something like 12-2 or something like that. And if you know anything about soccer, that's pretty one-sided. That's not just, this team was committing more fouls. Something weird there. And then, of course, Coach Chugger Dare got the yellow card after the game, which I thought was kind of funny.
Right.
But they struggled on the road. They played really, really well at home, had the shirtless dudes cheering them on. Crowd was fantastic for every home game. But they really, really struggled on the road and lost some games that they probably shouldn't, like Miami and Clemson on the road. Those are tough losses right there to teams that aren't going to make the tournament. So I don't know. Now you just kind of cross your fingers and hope and pray that they get in the NCAA tournament. They do have an argument, I will say, and they hung around. And, of course, they tied UVA, who's top 15, and they beat number who are they, 3 or 4 at the time? North Carolina. I don't know. They're top 5. So they do have that argument, but they might squeak in. If they do get in, they will be squeaking in.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, we'll see what happens there. That's going to wrap up our news and updates. Again, Virginia Tech falls at NC State last night. Final score of that one was 22-21. A heartbreaker. The Hokies give up 19 unanswered in the second half to fall to NC State. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we're going to break down that entire ball game after this. It's TSL Today on a Friday from Blacksburg.